Kadosh, good evening. We are doing now Bet Amud Bet. Yeah, if you remember, we're just going to do a very quick chazara on that which we just did the last shiur. The last shiur, right, was close the door. Yeah, the last shiur was that Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says that there were three keys. Yeah, there were three keys in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that were not given to a shaliach. And it's going to be mafteach of Geshamim, Chaya, Techiyat HaMetim. And we brought a pasuk for each one. If you remember, the Bach actually changed the order. However, though, I did want to read to you a tour. Listen to this tour. I want you guys to enjoy a little bit. The tour, so the tour says, in Orachaim Siman Kuf Yudaled, how many keys did we speak about in total? Rabbi Yochanan spoke about three keys, right? And one was, the Ma'arava was in the west, which is Eretz Yisrael. They spoke about the fourth one. What's the fourth one? Parnasah. Says the tool, these four are hinted in the word mafteach. What is mafteach? A key. All four are hinted in mafteach. Mem is what? Matar, rain, right? Very good. Pe, what's pe? Parnasah. Yeah. Tav, Techiyat HaMetim. Chet, Chaya. Mafteach. If a person wants to remember a hint, they want to remember their learning, how many keys are there? So you're going to tell me you're right. There's Rabbi Yochanan, three keys, Marava, the fourth key. How do you remember the four keys? Mafteach is a key. Mem, matar, parnasah, techiyat hametim, haya. Mafteach, that's how you remember it. Nice. The tour. Beautiful, no?
So for the tour, parnasah is not high, it's different.
Next. Says the tour again. Minyan hamilim bebirkat mechaye hametim. How many words are in the beracha of mechaye hametim? How many words? 51. 51. Yeah. From content. Yeah. No. Just mechaye hametim, not from the avot. Avot is another beracha. Keminyan hamilim in all the four pesukim here. Why? The pasuk of Yiftach Hashem lecha et otzarecha. The pasuk of the first one, matar. How many words are in that pasuk? So count. How many words are in the pasuk? Devarim kavchet yudbet. Yiftach Hashem lecha et otzarecha et shemaim et zecha b'tov v'rech v'sadecha v'yivit kol b'vatalot tilveh. 23. 23. Next. Poteach et yedecha u'maspil locha el ratzon. Here you have the pasukim. How many? Do one more time. Count again. No, lechol is 2 words. Yeah? 7 words. Next. Vayizkor Elokim et Rachel. 10 words. Vidatem ki ani Hashem. 11 words. You have the exact amount of the words, right, that you have in these psukim that talk about the maftechot. Those are the exact amount of words which are written in, right, Atagibor, in the Mechaye Hametim. And he says, why? Because they're all connected, obviously. Not only that, he says they're all hinted in Mechaye Hametim. Because when it says, right, V'nizkarim become Mechaye Hametim, Matar is Mashivaroch Moned Geshem. Parnasa Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed. He's being Mechalkel. What is Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed? Parnasa. He's sustaining everybody with chesed, techiyat hametim, mechaye hametim, and even the inyan of chayav, giving birth, is hinted when we say matira surim. Why? Because a child, when he's inside the mother's womb, he's considered in jail. That's what the Prisha says. So because of that, he comes and he says each one is also hinted in mechaye hametim. Everything's hinted over there.
Nice too, huh?
Yeah. So as we just started, we're going to do a very quick chazara again. So this, we just added the tour, yeah, and we just mentioned as follows, okay? So we just spoke about the 4 different, we're going to say, keys, and then Rabbi Yochanan did not count it because he said that Geshamim and Parnasah, right, is the exact same thing, okay? That was a quick chazara about what we spoke about for yesterday. We're continuing now with the two dots. And the two dots says as follows. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, I'm going to give it to you outside. Remember that every single time, remember that whenever it's going to be mentioned, the entire concept in the Gemara, there's a Mishnah. And after the Mishnah, the Gemara, every time usually that it brings the two dots, it's going to quote part of the Mishnah, and we're going to analyze it. Okay? So what was written? Yes, so that means we're gonna quote it and we're gonna analyze it. So here, if you see the two dots, it says, Rabbi Eliezer Omer miyom tov rishon shel chag chulu. What does that mean? That means those two dots and then the two dots, we are quoting that part of the Mishnah. Remember, what was written in the Mishnah? Right? So therefore, we're quoting those words. And now what we're going to do is, we're going to analyze something which is very common. And that is, where in the world did he get his opinion from? Where in the world is San Diego? No, where in the world is where in the world, right, is where in the world does he get his opinion from? Which means that we have to understand, right, where is he coming from? We have to know. He has something, you understand? He's got. So we're going to now try to analyze where does it come from. So there's two different opinions. Opinion number one is that he's learning it from the lulav. Okay, and opinion number two, he's learning it from the Nisuch HaMayim. Now, what's the difference, right? Do we realize, right? Obviously, if you remember, according to both opinions, yeah, we were talking about where did the Mishnah come from? Rosh Hashanah. How do we know that the Mishnah came from Rosh Hashanah? Because since we said in Rosh Hashanah Tetzayin, what do we say over there Tetzayin? Nidunim alamayim. Right? And therefore we said, we're going to be judged on water. So now what do we do on Sukkot? We do on Sukkot two different things that has to do with water. Number one, the lulav. And it's not only lulav, all of the four species. Right? The arvenachal, everything has to be on the water. Everything is on water. After that, right? After that we have, right, the following. After the water, Nisuch HaMayim. Right? And what is Nisuch HaMayim? The water libations. So now we're going to go like this. The Gemara is going to find out and going to ask 1 second. If you're telling me Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, what do you do already from Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag? You do two things for water. Number one, Nisuch HaMayim, and number two, which is the water libations that you put on the Mizbeach, right? Which is like with the sacrifice, you bring water and you pour it into the Mizbeach. It goes down the hole and it goes all the way to the Mekor. It goes all the way to the base. It goes all the way to the bottom. Okay? This is on Sukkot. Yom Tov Rishon Shel Sukkot. Number two, right? Lulav. Now you're going to ask me, Rabbi, what do I care? What do I care whether you're learning it from the lulav, which has to do with water, or the Nisuch HaMayim, which has to do with the water? And the Gemara is going to say, you know what the difference is? Nighttime. Why? In our Mishnah, we learned that everything had to do with the day. And we mentioned about Shachrit and Musaf. What about nighttime? Right? So if you remember, we jumped the gun. And we right away went to the halacha, and the halacha already brings down that there it's written in the halacha that at nighttime not everyone's in the Beit Knesset. In the morning they come more often, and by Musaf, usually everybody's already by there. You know, some people they only come from Musaf, right? There was a lot of people that they only knew about Musaf. They didn't know Shachri was. You understand? So what happens? What happens now is that all of a sudden, that's a different why. Nisuch HaMayim is done from when? Nighttime. Right? Nisuch HaMayim. Lulav is only done by daytime. So because of that, now depends how you're learning it from, when do you come and when do you start. So that's what we're learning. The Gemara is going to answer that he actually learns it from the lulav. I mean, mainly now you understand why we only do it during the daytime and not during the nighttime. We learn it from the lulav. And then we're going to ask, how do we know that? How do we know that he learns it from the lulav and not from the Nisuch HaMayim? Okay, until here we're clear? Okay, very good. So let's start the Gemara. And the Gemara starts. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Miyom Tov Rishon Shel Chag. So put your fingers on the place. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Miyom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, Ibaya Lehu. They are asking a question. Okay, so Ibaya Lehu. We're going to ask a question. Shalu, they asked the question. Remember that the word Baye, Bet Ayin Yud, usually means they need something, they want something, or they're asking a question. Like Baye Rava or Baye. Right, whenever you have the words Baye. So Baye means to ask a question, or right? To come and to need something. Here, ibaya lehu, right? They're coming and they're asking a question.
Who is there?
Okay? Ibaya lehu, so he comes and he asks the question, right? Rabbi Eliezer, according to Shitat Rabbi Eliezer, mehecha gamir la. Mehecha, right? From where? Remember, hacha is over here, right? Hatam is over there. Hecha is where. So mehecha, from, the mem at the beginning of the word is from. Mehecha, from where? Gamir la. Gamir is Gemara. What is Gemara? To learn. So Gamir, where are we learning it? Which means, where does Rabbi Eliezer learn that Gevurot Geshamim is done from Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag? So says the Gemara, Milulav Gamala. Does he learn it from Lulav? Right? And therefore, why? Because we know that the Lulav is Liratzot Alamai. The Lulav is here in order to make that we should have blessings on the water. That's why we're bringing the Lulav. Right? And therefore, so also the Tefillah, you should also start it with the same time that you're doing the Lulav. Or Minisuch HaMayim Gamala. Is he doing it from Nisuch HaMayim? Remember, there's a mitzvah to do Nisuch HaMayim on Chag HaSukkot, and they do it on the Mizbeach. So, or is he doing it on the Nisuch HaMayim, which is, again, what is he basing upon now? So now the Gemara is going to explain what's a nafkamina. Because Chazak Baruch, I'm going to come and tell you, do you learn it from A or B? But there has to be a difference. You understand? I mean, there has to be a difference between A and B that you're coming, you're asking the question. So the Gemara says, Mi lulav gamala. Do we say that we learn it from the lulav? Ma lulav bayom. Just like the mitzvah of the lulav starts during the day, which is shachrit of the first day of Yom Tov. Afaskara bayom. So too, when we're going to mention haskara, what is haskara? To mention, to remember. When malazkir, right? To mention, also should be during the day. Or dilma, or maybe, yeah, or maybe. Nisuch HaMayim Gamarla. He learns it from Nisuch HaMayim. Ma Nisuch HaMayim me'orta. Just like Nisuch HaMayim is from the nighttime. The Amar Mor, because Mor says in a Braita, right? Orta is nighttime. This is the Amar Mor, but Mor says, Uminchatam v'niskehem. What does that mean, Uminchatam v'niskehem? We are Doresh, Uminchatam v'niskehem afilu balayla. Even during the nighttime, which means that the nisachim are going to be kesherim even in the nighttime, as long as you brought the korban during the day. Which means you bring a korban during the day. As long as you brought the korban during the day, that nighttime you could still bring, whether it's going to be the blood or whatever it is.
So Nisuch is also the korban?
Yes. What did we just say? We just said by the general rule is by korbanot, when you bring a korban, as long as you brought the korban during the daytime, afterwards you could bring the limbs and all the other things in the nighttime. Now there is going to be a difference between the nisuch hayayin and nisuch hamayim, okay? Because there's nisuch hayayin, which is brought with the korban, which is basically nisachim with wine, and then there's nisuch hamayim, which is water libations. The water libations are going to be kosher already from the night of Sukkot, even without the korban. But usually, whenever we're talking about nisuch hayayin, it's always after the korban. So after the korban, you come and you're going to bring it. Okay. So the nisuch, which means nisachim are going to be kasher, even if even if we're going to come and we're going to do the nisuch on the nighttime, it's still going to be kosher. Afaskara be'orta. So too, we should already start doing it from the nighttime. Okay, this is what the Gemara is saying until here. So one more time, Rabbi Eliezer comes and he says from Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag. They ask, where does Rabbi Eliezer get it from? We answered, right, very simple. Do we learn it from Lulav or do we learn it from Nisachim, right, which is Nisuch HaMayim? Okay, not just Nisachim, because when you say Nisachim, it's all inclusive. It's Nisuch HaYayin and Nisuch HaMayim. Here it's Nisuch HaMayim specifically. So do we learn it from Nisuch HaMayim, the water libations? So the Gemara went right away and said, what's the difference? So very simple. If you learn it from Lulav, then you do it during the daytime. If you learn it from the Nisuch HaMayim, so then you're able to do it from the nighttime. So says the Gemara, Tashema, come and listen, right, or come and learn, right, or come and hear, whichever one you want to say it. The Amar Rabbi Avhu, says Rabbi Avhu, Lo lemeda Rabbi Eliezer ela milulav. He only learned it from Lulav. That means he just gave you the answer. Now, how does he know that answer? The Gemara is going to bring two different ways of how he learned that. Remember, Rabbi Avhu is the one saying this. Rabbi Avu, they asked in general in the Bet HaMidrash. We gave the two different sides of the coin, meaning the two different sides of the safek of the doubt. We came now and we answered it with a braita that comes. Rabbi Avu learns it from Lulav. How does he know that? How does Rabbi Avu know that? So says the Gemara, Ika de Amri, there are those that say, Ika, there are the Amri that say, there are those that say, Rabbi Avu Gemara Gamila, which means that he had a masoret. Whenever it says Gemara Gamila, it means that he had a tradition. He had a masoret. So therefore, he has this masoret from his rabbis that Rabbi Eliezer learned it from the Lulav. Ika de Amri, and some people say, Matnita Shemiale. He learned it from a braita. Okay, which means over here, he's learning it from the braita, and the Gemara is going to explain exactly what is that braita. Okay, so therefore, we're going to stop here. Okay,